Hello, darlings. I am Cassandra. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming. This is another episode of Magical Musings where I believe God, love, and magic is one word because you can't control who you love. You can't control how your magic manifests. And God has power that is unimaginable. But it is always working for the highest good of humanity. Now, in this episode, I want to talk to you about why. Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of a project, okay? But I want to share something that came to me today that really touched my heart. I want you to think back to a time in your life where it just seems like magic was carrying you through something. Maybe it was a wonderful experience, or maybe it was a not so wonderful experience. But I think that sometimes the reason people may struggle with their magic is because they don't have a reference. It's almost like people say, imagine a Uda Rada 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 Boom Boom Boom. And you're like, but I've never seen a Uda Rada Rada Boom Boom Boom. It's like, how am I supposed to work with this energy of something or recognize it when I have never experienced it before, right? So I think it is so important to think of a time in your life. I want you to, even if it wasn't magic, I want you to assign magic to it. Because I think once you know what miracles, I think the difference between a magic and miracle is that magic is your intention. You've set out to bring about an outcome, and a miracle is where it's almost like God did magic for you. Yeah, right. You didn't ask for the magic, but somehow, something that could not be explained with regular logic, like something supernatural or something where they said, oh, you don't have a chance to make it, and you make it. And that there was some type of supernatural force that brought about an outcome, right? That you didn't ask for. So anyway, I want you to think back in your life and come up with a time period, or at least a time period, or at least 3 to 5 events that took place. Whether you were on the freeway and you were sleeping and somehow you made it home safe. I mean, whatever. Because I want you to know that the energy of magic, of these beings of different dimensions, are there to assist you. That they're there. Like if you don't believe, and if you can't literally point out to experiences in your life where you're like, yeah, something else is going on, pretty cool. This was, you know what I'm saying? Once you tap into that, into those feelings, I think that's going to give your magic a really big boost, because it's almost like the spiritual realm is going to be, they're going to feel acknowledged that you see them. So anyway, there was this time in my life when I went away to school. Now, I was thinking about this yesterday in the shower, and I got really choked up. I was thinking about this time. I went to Northern Michigan University, which is in Marquette, Michigan, and it's in the Upper Peninsula. And it's kind of like, I don't know what made my little black butt from Detroit want to go all the way on an 8-hour trip across a bridge, child. That when you're driving across the what do you call that bridge? It's the Mackinac Bridge. you can feel the bridge literally swaying. Yeah. What was I thinking? I wouldn't even do that now. You know what I mean? And okay, so I decided I wanted to get away from Detroit. Like I said, I just want to get as far away from Detroit as I can. That was my plan. And so Marquette was an 8-hour drive, maybe 9. Maybe because my dad used to fly, but drive fast. But anyway, so it's long. I would say I'm gonna say between an 8 and 10-hour drive. Cross this swing long. I think it's one of the longest bridges as well. Just a scary ride, child. And so I decided to go to Marquette. And it's, I'm young. I was 20 years old. And so I appreciate the beauty of Marquette in hindsight more so than when I was there. When I was there, I thought, God, there's nothing to do. And it's just water. It was surrounded by Lake Superior. And just gorgeous. You hear me? Just nothing but this just beautiful Lake Superior, one of the biggest, largest of bodies of water with the biggest, most beautiful rainbows that anybody could ever want to see. That's the one thing I remember about the trip is these beautiful rainbows, right? I mean, huge, gorgeous, just perfect, beautiful rainbows over this beautiful lake. I mean, not only like a little lake. Lake Superior was huge, and the leaves and the trees and just naturally, in terms of nature, just a beautiful place. So, and I had the school assigned me a mentor, and Thomas Steen. And Thomasine didn't have any arms. She just had like nubs, like from the elbow down. And she said, and she was born like that. And she was just amazing. She was just so sweet. And I remember she actually picked me up from my mom's house, and we would take that long drive together. Like, she would check in on me. Thomasine was just a straight up angel when I think back on it. I mean, she was just so funny. And we listened to Janet. Every time I hear anything from Janet Jackson's do. I mean, that whole album, The Pleasure, I think it was like When I Think of You. When I think of that whole album, that was the only thing that she would play in her car as we would drive to Marquette. And, but let me tell you about the trip now. So, while I'm there, I'm 20 years old. I had gone through my little stage of skipping school. I had my GED. I had taken my classes at my community college. And I was just, I'm thinking, I think I started as maybe a sophomore. Yeah, I was like a sophomore. And I wanted to have the dorm experience. And I had but child, when I look back on this year of my life, let me tell you what happened. And I feel like God hooked me up. So, the first thing, I don't even know which order this was in. A family member decided to come, who I was very close to at the time, who I loved deeply and intensely, decided to come on to my kid's dad, or with my ex-husband. Long story short, I had never experienced betrayal by somebody I loved. So it just messed me up. Like, I just couldn't believe that was possible. I didn't believe that. It was more like, people really do this? Like, people really hurt people like this? And it was just, so that was so anyway, I just remember being there. And I had a friend who had introduced me to Campus Crusade for Christ. It was, he talked about, forgiveness, and I remember I was just crying the whole time because I was just utterly and completely heartbroken, because you don't understand. It wasn't like a little friend, or when I say little friend, or somebody you barely know. It was somebody that I would have given anything to. I would have done anything for. Somebody I loved, somebody I was close to, and it's like I just couldn't believe it. So that was one thing happened, and then the other thing that happened was, I told you guys about. Well, I know I have to assume that there are people who watch who. There was an incident that happened when I was in the 7th grade, and a boy in my class behind a church. I lost, my innocence, right? I'll just leave it like that. And I had suppressed that information. I had completely told myself it didn't happen. I was not going to be dealing with that, and I just turned into I started drinking and skipping school, but I was done with that. In my mind, that was a wrap. But at Northern Michigan University, I was writing a paper about marital R, the R word, right? And is it possible? And when I was reading what a lady wrote about her husband, it was the first time that memory surfaced. And man, was I mad at God. So I actually went to go see a school psychiatrist, and I couldn't stop crying. And it was so I was in a group, and it was just, can you imagine suppressing something from the time you're 12, and then, you're 20. I was 20. I had my 21st birthday when I was there. And anyway, the thing is this. When I think about the time that I was in Marquette, God was so good to me, because I thought I was going away to college, but I was really going to be healed. I was really going to be healed. I didn't even know it, y'all. And I mean, the rainbows over Lake Superior, I saw them all the time, and the place was so beautiful. It was so much nature, it was so much peace. I felt safe on the campus. People would go skiing. I think the name of I can't remember what it was. I think it was Sugar Hill, or I don't remember. But my girlfriend and I used to go and watch people ski and have hot chocolate. She also introduced me. Her name was still Linda. She showed me the Little Dipper in the sky, and every time I see the Little Dipper, even to this day, I always think of her. And we were coming back from class one night, so I was introduced to the Little Dipper. I saw these huge rainbows. I confronted God about everything that had happened, and I asked him. I wasn't even angry with the kid. I was just angry with God. God, how could you? Didn't you, what's up? And there was a little shop off of Lake Superior, and there was a sign on the door that said, God's wounded make his best soldiers. And that was all I needed to heal. I mean, I cried really hard. God's wounded make his best soldiers. And I just wrote it down, and I thought about it every night. And it brought me the peace that I needed. I could have been anywhere. I could have been anywhere dealing with that. I could have been anywhere in the world. I could have been working 5 jobs. I could have, you know what I mean? Like, I had support. My mom was sending me $50 a week. I wasn't working, I wasn't distracted. I was provided for emotionally. I was provided for in terms of the environment. When I looked back on that whole time period, God was like, look, my baby about to go through some mess. Right? And I want to send her somewhere nice. I don't want her worried about working. And I don't want her to have to deal with her family. I want her to be someplace peaceful in nature, because it's going to be a rough patch. And she's going to get through it. But I want to make sure that she's in a magical environment where there are rainbows and she can see the Little Dipper and she can see the leaves on the trees, and I want her to be someplace amazing while she heals. See, when I think of that, I said, dang, God. Yeah! Thank you for that. Thank you for that amazing, environment when I was going through one of the biggest transformations in my life about human nature, about people, about myself, about life. It was like I grew up. I think it was kind of like, if I had to describe it like in the butterfly stages, I think I was in the cocoon. And I think we go through those stages several times in our life. But that was a magical time for me. But I never thought of it that way up until today. Like, honestly, today I thought, that was so dope. Thomas Steen and the music and the innocence of the campus, the way they handled me, the way they nurtured me, the way they loved on me. Like, see, this is why I say God, love, and magic is one thing. So I'd like for you to take a moment. I want you to look at your life. And I know you might think, oh yeah, my dad loved me. But I want you to look at the magic. Because when you are performing your rituals, I feel like if you don't have a reference of just how amazing God, love, and magic really is, then you won't know that even when it may look like your magic isn't working, it's actually working. I really hope this video helps someone. Thank you so much for watching. And I look forward to seeing you, darlings, in the next video.